Good morning and bula to everyone, to our distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for coming to this event. I know most of you are grappling with challenges, particularly during the COVID-19 pandemic when businesses were suffering and also people lost jobs. But I think a good thing to remind ourselves is that in the face of adversity, we must continue to be resilient, humble, and kind. And on that note, I would just like to mention that one of our speakers could not make it, but we have one of the honorable speakers, Masjid. Thank you so much for being with us today. So, my name is Anju Mangal, and I am your MC and also your moderator. I've got two roles today. And my background is ICT, digital transformation, and I've been working in the cybersecurity area as well for the past 15 plus years. So it's very dear to my heart, and I'm actually excited to be moderating this panel, particularly because I know these wonderful people as well. So I'm excited today also because we're focusing on the Global24 event, an initiative of the United Kingdom Cybersecurity Programme, working in partnership with the UK government. So we have an interesting session ahead of us, but before I start, may I please request that everyone switch off their phones or put it on silent mode, please. Okay, so let me introduce and welcome our guest speaker, the British Deputy High Commissioner, Paul Welsh, and he recently joined in July 2020. Paul's been a political counsellor with British Embassy in Ireland and has worked with the Foreign and Commonwealth Office for 34 years. He has a huge portfolio working in the area of strategic leadership, political analysis, and human rights. Paul also believes in gender equality and youth empowerment. Paul's from Manchester, and he is a huge fan of football, so maybe we can have a conversation about football during lunch hour. Paul, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Anju. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's a great honour for me to be invited to speak today. I also feel a certain pride that Fiji has been asked to kick off the Get Safe Online Global24 event, and in the week following Fiji's memorable 50th anniversary celebrations. The British government is delighted to support the world's longest non-stop online safety awareness campaign ever delivered by one organisation. Get Safe Online is one of the world's foremost providers of online safety and security advice to individuals and small business. Today, it operates in 26 countries across the globe, providing and engaging in localised online safety advice to millions across the world. The internet and the online world has been an incredible force for good. It helps people access healthcare and education. It informs, educates, connects, and entertains. The web continues to change billions of lives for the better. But in the wrong hands, cyber technology can be used to disrupt our lives instead of improving them. It can be harnessed by malign actors to disrupt our democratic elections, undermine our financial systems, and cripple our infrastructure, spread hate crime, and endanger children. In the face of such serious and globalized threats, governments, industry, and civil society must come together to build our collective defences. I was struck by the words last year by the founder of the World Wide Web, Sir Tim Berners-Lee. Last November, Sir Tim said, "While the web has created opportunity, given marginalised groups a voice, and made our daily lives easier, it has also created an opportunity for scammers, given a voice to those who spread hatred, and made all kinds of crimes easier to commit." His solution, a contract for the web, was a plan to make online activity safe and accessible for everyone. Get Safe Online has been championing these concerns for many years. And it was these sorts of vulnerabilities that led in 2018 to all 53 Commonwealth countries committing to take action on cybersecurity by agreeing the Commonwealth Cyber Declaration. The Declaration is the world's largest and most geographically diverse intergovernmental commitment on cybersecurity cooperation. The Declaration sets out for the first time a common vision for ensuring the internet remains free, open, inclusive and secure across the Commonwealth. It commits Commonwealth states to collective cybersecurity and building foundations for effective national response capabilities that support economic, social development and rights online. It commits members to raising awareness at national levels of cybersecurity and increased international cooperation to counter those who seek to undermine our values, security, and even the integrity of our elections. The UK's Prime Minister of the day, Theresa May, announced at the time up to £15 million to help Commonwealth countries to strengthen their cybersecurity capabilities and to help tackle criminal groups and hostile actors who pose a global threat to security, including the UK. Ladies and gentlemen, any speech in 2020 has to include a reference to the global COVID-19 pandemic. The pandemic and resulting increased reliance on the internet and digital networks has brought with it a corresponding spike in cyber attacks. COVID-19 cyber scams have proliferated. I see them in my own inbox several times a week. This is another reason to scale up and expand public cybersecurity awareness, such as through GetSafe Online. So the focus of today's panel discussion is the cyber safety and security for business, specifically for SMEs. And for almost every modern business, the ability to safely email, work remotely, and operate a website is crucial to its everyday operation and success. If you're an SME, there's a 1 in 2 chance, in the UK at least, that you'll experience a cybersecurity breach. 1 in 2 chance, it's extraordinary. Much of the solution lies in getting the basics right, such as having strong passwords, downloading software updates, installing software security, deleting suspicious emails, and making regular backups of key systems. The panel experts and audience members will be far more knowledgeable about the problems and solutions. But one thing is for sure: if we are to keep our societies, our economies, and our families safe from online threats, then we will need to rely on the attentiveness and creativity of business. I'd like to end by saying a little bit about the importance of the role of GetSafe Online ambassadors and advocates, some of who are present today. And I thought carefully about the title ambassador or advocate recently when I was appointed a heart ambassador for a children's heart hospital in Suva. What can I contribute as a non-expert? I asked the hospital directors. Awareness, 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 they replied. Get out there and raise awareness about the risks and symptoms of congenital heart disease. Now, I know that there is so much more to the role of GetSafe ambassadors and advocates than just awareness. But where there is a commonality is on that need to raise awareness. The ambassador scheme is a voluntary programme where those who want to help others stay safe online can be trained virtually by GetSafe Online experts to deliver online safety tips to communities, individuals and businesses. They'll run outreach activities to localise GetSafe Online principles to the particular circumstances, practices and culture of their own countries. And I pay tribute to the enthusiasm, public spirit and commitment of them all. So as a non-expert, very much a non-expert on these issues, I very much look forward to listening to the panel discussion And I repeat my pride that we in Fiji are launching this Get Safe 24-hour marathon. A marathon that will conclude in Jamaica 24 hours from now. Vinaka Vakalevu.
Thank you so much, Paul. That was really good. I loved your point about raising awareness, and this is why we are here, to raise awareness on how to get safe online, but particularly on how to help the small businesses and also the big businesses to combat online threat and cyber threat. On that note, I would just like to get the team to do a pre-recording of, to show a pre-recording of Peter Davis, who is our global ambassador.
Ni Sabula. My name is Peter Davies and I am the Global Ambassador for Get Safe Online, a UK-based organisation with a footprint around the world promoting awareness and education about the risks of digital life. We're here to kick off a phenomenal event called Global24. The next 24 hours will see not just this event here in Fiji, but 23 other events in other parts of the world, 8 other Pacific countries, Africa, the United Kingdom, and the Caribbean. All with one theme, which is back to basics, making sure that everybody understands, knows, and practices the basics of staying safe online, because if we all did, the digital world would be a much safer place. Get Safe Online has been proud to work in Fiji and other countries owing to funding from the UK Foreign and Commonwealth and Development Office through their cyber security programme. And we are only too pleased through this to be able to provide a nation-specific website in Fiji and in all our other countries, to provide public messaging and events to back up that website and bring people's awareness of its existence, but also the risks they can take and what they should do about them. And we also are implementing an ambassador scheme whereby we recruit people in each country, including Fiji. We train and work with them so that they can deliver workshops to people in Fiji on our behalf. In the Pacific, we also work with advocates who are, and we're very proud of this, happy to work alongside us to promote the same messages about how to stay safe online. It's a great pleasure to be launching this event in Fiji because there's so much going on there. Already it's the base for our communications partners in the Pacific region, and there's already an active and willing partnership community of interest exemplified by the Online Safety Commissioner, Annie Dunn, but by many others. So we are joining a team that already exists, and we just want to play our part because digital life is too important and digital risks are not well enough known and need to be taken seriously. I wish you all the best for this fantastic event. I'd like to thank you for kicking off Global24. It's great to be in Fiji. It's just a shame I'm only here virtually. But it does mean that I can pop into Jamaica in 24 hours time, again, only virtually, to close the event. And in the meantime, so many people in so many countries around the world will have their awareness raised and will be thinking and talking and communicating about online risks in a way that can only make them and their families and communities safer. That's what Get Safe Online is all about. Thank you, have a wonderful time, and thank you again for being right at the start of the Global24 event. Vinaka.
Great. I hope that gives you a bit of overview of what we do in terms of Get Safe Online. If you want to know more about Get Safe Online, you can visit the website getsafeonline.org.fj. We also have a team here who can also provide you with information. And also, if you want to become ambassadors, please reach out because we've got a really good panel of experts here who can also talk to you about the ambassador program. So, without any further ado, let's kickstart the panel discussion. So, let me start by introducing you to the panel. We have Sergeant Savenada Siwatimbao, who leads the digital forensics investigation in the police force. Save, please raise your hand. And next to Save, we have Anne Dunn, who is the Online Safety Commission for Fiji. And then we have Jim Tora, who is the founder for That's It Consultants. And then we have Gabriella Wong, who is the director for ING Investments. We have Sandeep Chauhan, who is the director for Star Printry. And thank you, sir, again. We have Masjid Shahzad, who is the managing director for Cyber Food Initiative. So my first question is to Save. I think it's very important that we come back to the very simple terminology because we will not use any technical jargon. I know most of you are experts, but we will keep it very simple. So, Save, in very simple terminology, can you explain the difference between cybersecurity, cyber safety, online security, and online safety?
Naka, mbulapinaka to all. In regards to the question that has been put forward, I would like I will try and define what is cybersecurity. Cybersecurity has been normally misunderstood with IT security or security or even information security. Cybersecurity is totally different. It includes the framework, business framework of a company in trying to protect their online investment on online business transaction that happens on digital cyberspace. So in terms of cybersecurity, what I've put down here is it's an explicit defined security program based on the risk, culture, and capabilities of an organization that is endorsed by the executive, aligned with its mission and stakeholders. So cybersecurity in general terms is not only in regards to IT security or the securing of your IT infrastructure, but it consider a holistic approach by the company to protect its digital or online business ventures. I think that is for cybersecurity. The other aspect of it, online security, it all comes under cybersecurity as part and parcel of it, but cybersecurity as a whole covers all the terminology of online security and information security. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you so much, Save. That was really good. So holistically, we have to think about cybersecurity as the overarching, and then underneath that is all related to online safety, cyber safety, and there's various forms like Paul mentioned. You're dealing with ransomware, malware. There's so many levels of complexities that we need to think of. So on that note, for the business rep, please share your specific experience, Gabriella, with online security threats. And maybe just in regards to social media, have you come across any online threats or cyber threats?
Thank you, Anju. My business began in 2017. And before going online, we were very small, safe, and our risks weren't faced on a day-to-day basis. When we joined Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter, we started getting all these comments, feedbacks from various people. And the two stories that stuck out to me were on Facebook, and the other was on LinkedIn. So during this time, I had no idea about the risks and who to turn to. So at that time, my only solution was to block this person. Now, what happened was this person had commented on Facebook. She questioned me about my hashtag Chinese lady truck driver. And I was taken back because there's just more than just a racial and a gender description to it. It takes me back to who I saw driving that truck in New Zealand and what motivated me to do it. So I responded to her explaining what hashtags are used for. It's used for businesses to sort of help create a search bar that's easy for them to find us. 4 days later, I think the public destroyed her, and that I put that on me as a business, and on my profile, I should have deleted it. So to combat this this online safety issue that I faced, I think we should take the responsibility on ourselves as business people to reply privately and sort of train ourselves, as the ambassador said, through virtual training, and take things a little bit more seriously online. One comment can either destroy you or your customer. And yeah, so I think moving forward, we should take things seriously. Yeah, thank you.
Great, thank you for that. Taking things seriously, I think it's also important to use some common sense when you're online.
Yeah.
So on that note, Sandeep, would you like to, you are one of the leading printery businesses in Fiji. You have opportunities of using digital printing, but there may be implications of using digital printing. So have you encountered any threats in terms of digital printing or anything in relation to the work that you're doing?
Bulavinaka, everybody, and my fellow panelists as well as Your Excellency. Not per se in terms of digital printing, that we've had problems or online security issues, because I guess in the line of business that we're in, people would submit files and then you would check it. So I think the risk remains whether the integrity of the file is appropriate or it's not a malware of some sort, you know. So usually we would only take files in from people that we do trust or that we've been working with. So that is one aspect. But listening to everybody here this morning, you know, I mean, doing business online is not a luxury anymore. Everybody does it. It's the norm. It's like if you're not in it, you're losing out. So it's not per se as a small business or a large business or a medium business. It's you've got to be in it. And it has, I look at it that it's given so many youngsters an opportunity to enter the sphere of a commercial trade or making a livelihood for themselves, perhaps more relevant in today's age with the pandemic that we've got, where you're not reliant on getting a job or seeking a job, but you know, you're your own master because you've suddenly had a idea, you're putting it through, and you've started your own business, and you know, you're controlling your own destiny. So for that reason in its own, you need some sort of security around the web or the cyber area that we're talking about, in terms of making sure that, you know, it's secure, it's comfortable for the young businesses as well as any business to trade online.
Great, thank you so much for that. So, Masjid, maybe share something in regards to the cyber food initiatives that you've started. Thanks.
Thank you very much for giving us an opportunity to talk about the business and threat. We started our business in 2018, and then first threat, I think, is kind of two threats we faced. One was from our side, and then the other was from the user. From our side, what we started about the payments, how we collect the payments. The food business itself, we have to go, get the food, and deliver. It's not a prepaid. So the main threat we're facing, like, what if something happened? If someone unable to pay? And we face those situations when someone order, and then when we started business, and we were very dedicatedly working to promote the business, just to serve everyone on equal levels. Okay, said do it, and then we face difficulty. Some people they order, and then later on when we go, our team has got to deliver, and they say there is no one there. We go to the particular areas, the community, and then they find there is no one. So in these cases, we lost in kind of multiple times. We lost maybe more than thousands of dollars. And then because what happened is they ordered $300 or $400 orders, and then because of that threat, we learned, okay, this is not the right way to deal. So go with the IDs. So we start asking the IDs to customer. Okay, whoever is doing the orders, okay, ask. If you are the new customer, send us ID as a proof, like you're the genuine. So in this case, we filter a lot of con, and then people who trying to con us. So in this case, I think we save our side. And then we start going to the bank. When we started in 2018, we approached all 5 banks. We tell them, okay, said, we need online payment gateway, which is very necessary to avoid all that threats. So it's easy for us to handle this kind of business. And then all the tourists been coming here, they were very familiar with online food deliveries, and they very used to use those kind of services. And when we tell them, okay, we don't have e-gateways, they were surprised. Okay, so how come you guys run the online food delivery service if you don't have those e-gateways? So having an e-gateway itself is expensive. It's very expensive in Fiji. Even the 3 banks we approached, they said, okay, they don't have it. And then one bank said, okay, they're in process. And then one major bank, they said, okay, we have to put 25,000 as a security bond to have this facility, which is, like I said, 25,000. Maybe it's better we invest in our business so we could have that. So those kind of SME, small and small businesses, startups, we face a lot of difficulties. Still, and then we've been facing those difficulties and threats. In case sometimes we miss some kind of a double check, we're still facing those difficulties as well.
Great.
It's good if we can have those facilities very on available for the SMEs. So it's good. I think this is the missing part.
Great, thank you for that. It's also good for me to understand what are the different perspectives from a business point of view, because they're grappling with other issues, not just online threat or cyber threat, but it's also, like you said, gateways, transaction, it's expensive. And a small business may not be able to afford it. And what Sandeep mentioned in terms of online security issue, malware, who should be dealing with it? Maybe he's got a team, maybe he doesn't. We will come back to that later. And Gabriela, you mentioned a really critical point in terms of, and you also provided a really good point in terms of online safety. And I think, coming back to our team here, who I call the cyber defenders, but I'm sure there are cyber defenders here too. But I'll go to Anne. Can you talk about, based on what they've said, can you talk about what the role of the online commission is? What are your responsibility? And can you provide some stats and figures in terms of, online threats and, some of the challenges that we faced in Fiji, but also applied to any business threats coming to you? Complaints, sorry.
Right, thank you very much. And so I guess it was interesting listening to the different responses from the business perspective, because the commission itself is not business focused. And so while this is focused on SMEs and business discussion, in Fiji we have the Online Safety Commission, and we have the Online Safety Act as one of the legislations that handles cyber crimes, so to speak, or any cyber related offenses. And so for the Online Safety Commission, we're more so engaged with the person. And so earlier when Sergeant Sava was describing cybersecurity or online security and cyber safety, online safety, and the differences, cybersecurity is really that overarching context that you had mentioned. And so online safety is part of that context. And with online safety, the focus is on the individual, and it's on the person who's using the device, who's using the infrastructure. And so with the commission, we're really focused on really 2 aspects. And so the function of the commission is to promote online safety throughout the country, and it's also receiving complaints, as you had mentioned. And so we receive complaints from all over the country. Last year, we totaled out more than 400 complaints by the end of December. And so a majority of our complaints last year were on defamatory comments, which, listening to Gabriela's experience with a comment of her hashtag, that I don't know if that would constitute as defamation, but as an online safety issue, she did exactly what we would have suggested as well, which was to delete and to block. And because you have that option, you have that responsibility, or not necessarily the responsibility, right? But you have that option, and so you can take proactive measures from a business perspective to be able to handle threats like that. And so we receive complaints mostly on cyberbullying issues, on online safety issues such as cyber trolling or internet trolling, cyberbullying, as I had mentioned earlier, cyber stalking, and so anything particular to the person. And we're focused more on the harm being emotional distress rather than it actually being you losing out on finance or losing part of your business, as you had mentioned with the food business, which was really intriguing to me because I don't think I had thought about that even with sort of the ability that we have and the infrastructure that we have in the country. So that's interesting to know as well. But our average age of complainants last year were from 32 to 34, and so it wasn't necessarily the target audience that we had gone to raise awareness with. As I had mentioned, one of the functions of the commission is to promote online safety, and so we do that in 3 different streams. We do that with schools, which is one. We also do that with community awarenesses that we also do with Fiji Police, which has been really helpful. And we also do that through social media, and so we have an online page and an online presence for the Online Safety Commission on Facebook only. And even that is an aspect of businesses, because for the Online Safety Commission, we have a blue tick, right, on Facebook. And so that blue tick might not mean a lot of things to Fijians, but that verified tick means that you are an actual registered entity. And so if you go online and you see, for instance, the Online Safety Commission, or maybe that's a consultant, or any business, you're looking for the verification that the people that you're interacting with are actually people that you intend to interact with. So the commission is not wide in scope. And so in terms of what type of complaints we receive, it's mostly related to the individuals. However, last year we did receive quite a few from businesses, and we just had to let them know and advise that you have other options available as well.
Great, that's a good point. So Online Safety Commission, they're focusing on individuals. So if you have a complaint, you can go to Ed or her team. But coming back to the point about individuals, I mean, if complaints come to you about business problems or threats, then how does that sort of how does Sabe and the team take over in terms of dealing with the threats? Sabe.
When business complaints comes in, usually they are referred to us. From there, we will look into the case as in the context of what has happened. In regards to the online tracking business, there are ways that we can set up your online page with proper settings that you can avoid such comments. There are settings on Facebook or any other social media platform that you can restrict the comments or the age of those who are commenting. So I think this is the best way to let our business counterpart knows of the security settings that these social media entities have. In regards to my friend from the Star Printy, he's taking the risk of downloading attachments. But there are security measures that are in place that you can be sure that those attachments are legit or are secured by way of looking at their hash files, by ways of encrypting them, and only they can decrypt the message, or by the security measures of antivirus and scanning the documents before uploaded and when downloading it. So these are some of the security measures that are already in place that I think we need to advise our small business counterparts. In regards to the food business, the collection of payments, there are ways we can set up the online business and to filter out those that we see are not genuine as he said, not genuine accounts. So we usually tie up the accounts to the person. So I think it's just a way of sitting down and looking at the fine prints of security aspects that we can show them to better their online business. Mm-hmm. So, but in regards to the business complaint, we do take the business complaint side of it, mm-hmm. and we conduct investigation. We usually work with our counterparts as they will conduct social media online business. We are in partnership with Facebook and the other Instagram and all this. So if any of their business online is affected, we can easily identify who is the culprit.
Great. So you have a good team working behind the scene to make sure that you can tackle these issues. So again, individuals, Online Safety Commission, business or small businesses, big businesses, you can always direct it to the cybercrime unit and cyber's team. So coming back to, or just one more point, in terms of fake accounts, it's very difficult to identify that unless you use algorithms or something. But I'm not going to go into the technical jargon, but I have to be very clear that it's difficult to actually understand who is real and who isn't, right? So coming back to Jim, how do we secure and empower small and big businesses with the right tools, the techniques and approaches? And maybe you could provide some good business tips and good practices, sorry.
Thanks, Anju. I think one of the, just listening to the panel and also my colleagues, a lot of the SMEs, organizations, not just in Fiji, do not actually take cybersecurity very seriously. And we can see that from the number of breaches, people being hacked through malware or phishing. And so I think one of the best ways really is to go online to getsafeonline.org.fj. It has two separate sections, one for businesses and one for individuals. It outlines the different areas, whether it be checklists on setting up the security for the different social media accounts, as my colleague Saved alluded to. It also has how you can set up your business continuity plan. It basically has a lot of the tools that SMEs and also large corporates can use as a checklist from those basic tips you had mentioned to get secure. In terms of empowering small and large corporates, I think the onus is on us as advocates, and as His Excellency had mentioned, around awareness. And I think it's important to also share not just only your experiences in business, but also we need to be also, step up and also share our experiences from a tech perspective. The checklist, I think, really comes down to some basic things. Would be, apart from antivirus, encryption of your emails, securing your websites, getting that authentication on the blue ticks of your social media accounts, going through the settings initially for those. I think most of the tips are readily available online. It's just searching for that and connecting with the right, organizations, whether it be the Online Safety Commission or through cybercrime, either through That's It or some other companies who are also represented here today, and just getting advice on that. One of the basic things I see, as Sandeep had mentioned, if you go to some websites here in Fiji and across the Pacific, the first thing you see is it comes up with a little triangle in your browser on the top left that says not secure. So straight away, that should give an indication to you that that particular website is not secure. Even though it's a business, there's a potential threat that whatever links you click on or information you download from that website may contain a Trojan, some malware, or something that could infect your business. And so it's these small little things that you need to be aware of, that the Get Safe Online website also has this advice that can provide you with. Thank you.
Not all websites have that indication. Some don't. Anyway, so coming back to the business representatives. So based on what they've just said, do you think it's clear about their roles and about the tips they provided and also the solutions, or is it not clear enough? Any thoughts on that?
It's clear, but the irony is that the people that create the problems are always going to be a step ahead or two. Yes. So and that's the problem that I'd probably generalize it to say it's not just the businesses but the population at large. So how do we get ahead of the game is probably one of the things. Masjid brought up a good point in terms of e-channels as well. Doing business online is the easier part, is the way I would see it. But how do you get the payment platform secure enough or safe enough? How do you trust that the credit card details that you put on or do give are going to be secure enough and not scammed or taken or used by somebody else? And then those are some of the pertinent questions with which businesses are probably asking. Cost being a separate thing, it does cost a lot of money, whether you're a small business or a large or a medium business. Immaterial. I mean, in this day and age, when we're trying to promote doing businesses online and not to be able to pay online, why would you have a website then? If you only at this point in time, I think most businesses have a website so that they can just promote their products, as opposed to really literally doing business online. It's not happening because the cost prohibits most businesses from doing that. So that's one of the other things. Jim mentioned about the little triangle up the top left-hand corner. How do you ensure that the website is secure then? So it's just some of these things, and a lot of businesses would have the IT people around, but whether it's to the level or caliber that you need to be at this day and age is another question.
That's a really good point. And coming back to that in terms of human resources capacity, some of the small businesses do not have IT experts. Big businesses, they may have IT experts, they may be able to tackle these issues, but again, the caliber in terms of how can they deal with these issues. Because ICT is so broad. Not one person can do hardware. You can't expect that same person to do the software or the server administration, etc. So we have to be clear about that too. Before I come back to you, Jim, in terms of responding to Sandeep, from your point of view, Gabriella, because you've gone through this in terms of social media risk, do you have, from a business point of view, user point of view, any sort of tips for other small businesses?
So I think whenever you're marketing online, think of how it will impact the user, the reader. Think of simplicity, because they can always ring you up as a human being and ask you the millions of questions that you'd like to post. I've learned a very good lesson today. I shouldn't post too much about my personal view.
Mm-hmm.
Keep it as a business point, keep it short, and try not to let the comments go too far.
That's a really good tip. And you should be able to differentiate between professional and personal, how you liaise with your clients and also with your families or friends. So that's a really good tip, Gabriella. Masjid, do you have any more thoughts on, in terms of what they provided? Do you think that these are the right people that could help you? Or do you feel that there might be some more need for awareness or any opportunities to work together?
Yeah, that's, I think, really good information from me as well. Like, it's really great. But few things which in reality we're facing, what we did last year, we integrate our system with M-Pesa. Before that, it was only all manual transactions. And then we did, I think we're the first or second company in Fiji, who does the online payment integration with that our cyberfood.com.fj. And then what we're facing, even the users, they have the M-Pesa accounts. When they click on M-Pesa, they take it to their portal, and they feel scared. Oh, what's this? Why am I putting my information in that portal? And then they cancel. And then they call us, man, what happened? I just pressed M-Pesa. Then I don't understand what does it mean for. So even though it was a simple things, but it's online. It's all about the awareness. We've been, I think what we did, we create more videos on that. We tell Vodafone to create more awareness on that. So even though I think awareness is the most thing which we need to do, so people know how to use online payment with M-Pesa and as well the other ones as well. But the main thing which I will more force on that, to decrease the cost of having an e-gateway, which is most important part, which almost 99.9% SMEs are facing at this point. If it decreases, definitely it will help the economy. And then the second thing what we are facing at the moment, all international customers, they want to support the locals. They want to send money and then buy the groceries, food, and as well the other things. But the hurdle is how they pay. Either they pay Western Unions, the money is not coming directly to the, and then they are very convenient because they've been using e-gateways with the debit or credit cards, but in Fiji. And then sometimes they said, okay, we are facing it very hard, so leave it. They are not supporting it. So that's the part I think we are losing, economy-wise, we are losing. I think every second day we have inquiries, and then out of 10, I think 7 they go through. It's just a hard process, but 3 they deny. Okay, sir, it's hard for me to go out because of the busy schedule and then COVID restrictions. They said, okay, it's better we don't do that. So it's good if I want to highlight this one as well, if somehow we can work on this. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you for that. Coming back to Jim, do you have any tips or any comments in relation to what Sandeep, Gabriella, or Masjid has said?
Yes, with Masjid, currently the Central Bank, Reserve Bank, are working on a payments gateway for organizations, both small and large. They also have the Pacific FinTech Sandbox, which was launched, I believe, last year. And so I think there's some work that's happening in the background around that space. And I think there are also interested organizations that are working to potentially look at, from a FinTech perspective, provide that particular service. So there is, I guess, in the tech FinTech space, some work being done, but at the moment there's nothing that, from my radar, so to speak, that's coming out soon. So I understand. I also face that difficulty as well in terms of online payments. You try to mitigate the risk of not carrying cash or having cash, and just using cards. But unfortunately, some of we do not have that. But I'm sure that those tools are coming out. So in regards to Sandeep, I guess one of the things I can work with my fellow advocates is actually putting together these checklists, if not already available, and providing those links to you on what your IT team can do in terms of from a training perspective or coaching perspective through Get Safe Online. And I'm sure the Deputy High Commissioner will be able, as he alluded to, the $15 million funding to the Commonwealth. Might also be some funding in there for us, but yeah, that's actually something I guess a lot of the IT departments in organizations, while they're focused on certain aspects or certain skills, I think it's also good to upskill them as well. And I think we should be able to assist in that space in pointing them to the right direction. We also have some vendors, so to speak, here as in the audience, who also have that expertise that we could also direct you to. And back to you, Gabriella. I guess you're correct there in terms of some of the tips that you have provided, and I think it's as an SME, also advocate as well, to also push that information out to your fellow business partners, your vendors as well, who also might not be aware of some of the risks. Discussion earlier, you're getting emails from or links from people who are asking, would you like to buy a new truck? Would you like to try this out? So I guess also sharing from our point to you what some of those advice are. I think to what Sandeep mentioned that I didn't mention earlier is around the vendors that you're dealing with. So whilst you are comfortable with a particular vendor that you've been using for so long, just also be aware that their systems too can be compromised. One of the things we're facing as well now in the market is vendor fraud, where the email accounts for your vendors get spoofed, so to speak, and they're sending emails to you and saying, for example, we have changed our bank details. It's coming from their email, it's legit, but they've decided to change the bank details. And so if you're so used to the communication via email, you need to be aware that the opportunity of fraud, and that's happened in the industry in the last 12 months. I know a lot of organizations have been faced with vendor fraud. So, and I think that's something that we'll talk about later in terms of email phishing and yeah.
Great, thanks. Savi, would you like to add to that? And then I'll go to Anne.
Yes, just I would like to highlight on the point that Jim have highlighted on is what we call business email compromise, where the perpetrator exactly like you will not know the difference in the untrained eyes. You won't know the difference, but that is one thing that is currently happening now. It comes from a phishing email that drops a malware into your system and replicates all your contacts. So I think the way we can go ahead and fight against such an incident is to raise awareness. Thankfully, this platform has allowed us to come and sit down and raise awareness and share the tips that you can safely conduct your business online. We will be very happy. We've been trying to alert all business stakeholders when this came into light with us, when the complaints start coming in. But unfortunately, we don't have the platform. But we are thankful that now we can raise it with the business stakeholders that there's a threat out there. It's actually called the Emotet virus, the malware, that drops in an attachment as an attachment document, Word document, PowerPoint, or whatever attachment that you can receive, drops into your computer and replicate your email address. So I think that is one of the good points that has been raised by Jim. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much for that, Sabe. I just wanted to bring it back to what Gabriella said, because for businesses, dealing with online issues, online threat can be an issue, right? Small businesses. But defamation of character can be a huge implication on your business, because people would be reluctant to actually use your business. That can be an issue. I'm not saying it is, but it can be an issue. But from your point of view, Anne, how do you deal with this situation? And are there any program in-house, or maybe you're working with someone who also deals with these challenges in terms of dealing with mental illness when it comes to these sort of issues?
Right, I think that's such a great question. Like in terms of cybersecurity or online security, online safety, we tend to get like very technical in these discussions, and so we forget that behind these screens, behind these tools are people. And so you have individuals who might not have the same capacity to take something, mentally. And so it's important for you to know that when it comes to online issues, you are not alone. You're not the only business that has ever faced such an issue. As I don't know, as hard as that might sound, but it is important for you to know that on a mental level, there are resources here in Fiji in particular. If individuals come to the commission does not have counseling services, so I do want to make that clear, but we do refer you to Lifeline Fiji. There are resources from FWCC or FWRM as well, and just different counseling services throughout the country that are able to assist. There are national numbers that are available for women and children in particular. And so those resources are readily available on getsafeonline.org.fj, but they're also available at onlinesafetycommission.com. And so in terms of people and having that discussion, I think at the end of the day, you have this dialogue about technology and being able to use these great devices. But we also have to recognize that they're just tools. They're not actual, they are tools to be used, and so but they're to be used responsibly. And so in the same sentiment as Gabriella had mentioned earlier, simplicity is probably the best option for anything. And so, but collectively, there are definitely resources that we could work towards. The commission does not at this point have a specific mental health program going on, but we do recommend the services of Lifeline Fiji and other counseling services in the country.
Great, it's good to know that resources are available for that. Coming back to what Save and Jim mentioned in terms of raising awareness, are there any programs available, or are you thinking about doing any programs in the future, not just with Get Safe online, because we will have campaigns and outreach, but are there initiatives for the communities? Because it's not just about urban centers, but we also need to look at the rural and remote communities who are doing quite a lot of businesses, and they're going on Facebook, they're doing quite a lot of online transactions or maybe online businesses, and I think we need to also think of them. So do you have any programs on that?
Yes, we are trying to reach out to business, small business council and all other business council in terms of getting the key point of contact. So if we have a threat coming into Fiji or a cyber threat that has been alerted to us from our overseas counterpart, we can easily disseminate it to the business committee or the business council for them to disseminate it to their groups. That is one thing that we are looking at. The other thing is raising awareness with the business council. We are trying to find a platform where we can raise awareness in terms of using social media, increasing the security in social media, and the business conducting business online. We have resources, we have counterparts that are willing to help us in raising awareness and providing security services or consultant services to the business community. So definitely Fiji police is looking at that way in terms of trying to create a safe business environment online in Fiji.
Great, thank you for that. And I think it's important for you to bring all these great ambassadors, because they are the ones who can tell you what will work, what will not work. So I think we're coming to a close in terms of our panel discussions, but let's take it to the audience, because that's the most important part of the session. I would like to invite you to share your experience or anything in relation to online threat, cyber threat, or maybe a comment from an industry point of view, from a small business point of view, even if you're an IT expert or business owner. I think it's good to hear from you. And also, if you have any questions for these panelists, this is the time to raise your questions. Yes, Peter, thank you.
So one question to the business panel. So if you had to start again, and I heard training and e-gateway, is there anything else you might want on your wish list? And then a question for the cybersecurity ambassadors panel, not specifically in terms of numbers or percentages, but would you say the success level in finding cybercrime is low, medium, and high, or high? And what would be something that would be useful to make it better?
That's a really great question. So is digital going to deal with the wish list? Can I provide this wish list too? Can we go to the business rep first? Anyone? Open.
Yeah. Thank you for asking a question. Okay. Basically, when we started, the first thing what we faced difficulty was the online payment. We don't want to deal in a cash on deliveries because that was a more risk on that. So we approach all the banks and then all the mobile money networks. So at that time, when we started, we had 9 mode of payments, 5 bank accounts, 1 corporate payment, 2 mobile money accounts, and then 1 FPOS. And then when we find, even though having a 9 mode of payments, the people have been asking, okay, online payments. Mm-hmm. And then cash on delivery when they are not confident. Then we start using cash on delivery because having e-gateways a difficult process. So we created 5 bank accounts. It was expensive for us to get all the banks, but there was no such other facility to continue the business. So we have currently we have a digital mobile money called DMM, and then also Vodafone M-Pesa. But I think if currently SME businesses are looking for opportunities which are affordable, so market is open, and then I think SME businesses are hungry. So if whoever is step in first will get the opportunities. And then Reserve Bank is working on that. We are part of that International Fiji Gateway. So, but hopefully we'll get it as soon as possible. But opportunities are open, but the businesses are ready to go.
So I think you've just answered that for Peter because you've mentioned Digicel money. So I'm sure he's pretty happy about that. That's right. That means we've got sponsorship as well now. Okay. I don't know, if I were to start all over again, I'd rather be a life without emails, Twitter, and all of the other stuff because life was a lot more simpler then. You don't have to respond to emails at any stupid hour of the day and things like that. So that would be me, I suppose. But in saying that, I guess it's not going to happen. There's a lot more we can do collectively in terms of making sure that it's a lot safer for everybody as opposed to just being in a silo, you know. And I like the idea of the 3 ambassadors saying, you know, that we've got to work collectively, and I'll probably take Save's offer up, where he's mentioned that he's wanting to talk to the business community. Mm-hmm. So I'll put on my other hat as president of Fiji Commerce and Employers Federation, and if you send me an email, we'll put it through the secretariat, and so every time you have a threat or any information you want to get out to the members, we'll make sure that the secretariat sends it out. Secondly, we've got council meetings happening every month, and I think we can get that involved as well, so where you can come and advocate. Mm-hmm. So that would be our part.
Well done. So we're building partnership here as well.
Thank you, Peter, for your question. I think from my experience, it's very too easy to create a business nowadays online. Mm-hmm. It's very too easy to do things your way. I'd like a platform or some commission that can hold people responsible to attend virtual training before creating the business. Mm-hmm. You know, we might not have that management side on Facebook, but we can put it on the responsibility of the business. Yeah. So that's just my one point.
These are amazing wish lists. You better be taking notes. Coming back to you guys in terms of his second question.
Thank you very much, Peter, for that question. In terms of success rate, we currently are at a better place from where we started with the terms of the available tools and training that are available that we have undertaken. We have successfully completed most of the cases that we have undertaken as investigation. On the wish list, locally we don't have much educational in terms of cybersecurity or in the field of digital forensics. There's not a lot of IT people that are interested in this field. So that is one of our main drawback, is the manpower, that we don't have enough manpower to cater for all the complaints that have come through. But rest assured that we take every complaint as serious as it is, and we try our best in solving and investigating it. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else from the group?
Thanks for your question, Peter. I'll actually answer that on the, from my company side and take off the Get Safe Online hat. So my company just recently partnered with a cybersecurity awareness company called KnowBe4. They're based out of the US, and so what we do, we provide security awareness training and different modules that's automated in an inbuilt learning management system for your users. We train them, we then fish them, we then also generate reports to be able to see who in your business are clicking those links and where the training gaps are. So one of the key things with SMEs or large corporates is that you might have, you know, the fancy hardware, the software for your firewalls, for your website, but the exposure really are your users. They have access to your systems. And so what these threat actors do is they come up with phishing emails, where they send an email, and as His Excellency had mentioned, during this time of COVID, phishing emails have increased. And so the email could be anything like, for example, an email to one of your users saying that you are now eligible for FNPF in terms of a particular payout. You'll have everything there in terms of the logos, the branding, and there's a link that you need to click to verify. Just clicking on that link, because you're within an organization, will either infect and destroy their company in terms of malware Trojans, or as Sav alluded, it picks up your email contacts and in the background sends authenticated email from your email address. So my company provides security awareness trainings that's automated, that's up to date with current content. Your IT team doesn't have to continuously look for content online and spend time creating that. We are now in an automated world. And so that helps organizations also look and identify what are the current threats in the market in Fiji, in the Pacific, what's happening in the rest of the world, to make that awareness. So I'll be happy to talk during lunch or during the break on how That's It can assist you on that.
There's some business propositions going on here. Okay, so over to you again. The floor, please.
My name is Sanjeet, and I'm Director of Link Technologies. I don't have a question, but something to add to what the panel has been discussing today. One of the key things that I have noted today is awareness. I possibly think what the Commission should do is blend cybersecurity as part of curriculum, so students get to know about this at a very early stage. One of the things I experienced during this pandemic was my son is a class 1 student, and he's doing virtual classes. I exposed him to tablets and stuff, which I wasn't doing. So that's when I realized that these guys need to know and understand what cyber security is really about. So we need to start enforcing this at the grassroots level, as opposed to just concentrating on business sectors of the community. The other point I wanted to make to the business community is generally IT investment is considered as an expense to the businesses. I think the otherwise. It should be considered as an investment where you'll get the return at a later stage. So most of the businesses, I deal with most of the companies in Fiji, IT company, businesses, and it's seen as an expense to them. But generally, it's return on the investment. What the government has recently done is they have reduced duties on the various items, which makes IT products affordable to the companies in the Fiji. So it should be seen as an investment as opposed to an expense. That's the 2 comments I wanted to make today. Thank you.
You've raised 2 very important points, and I completely agree with you. Does anyone want to respond to that? Anne?
Yeah, I don't I don't really have anything to respond in terms of question and answer, but I completely agree in terms of the curriculum. That's definitely something that the Commission is looking forward to discussing with Ministry of Education because it's such an integral part of society. It was mentioned earlier that for businesses, it's not a luxury to be online, it's a necessity for students. It's not really a luxury at this point anymore, although it is for some parts of our country. Do not get me wrong, I understand that technology might not be as widely available in terms of the devices themselves. But while we have the accessibility, we also just need to hold ourselves also accountable in terms of what we're teaching our children. And I could imagine that your child, as they were exposed to more online time, even that is a topic of discussion. How much time should a child spend online has other different attributes to it as well. But I completely agree, and the Commission is looking into curriculum specifically for online safety, so that's hopefully something that we could bring up sooner than later.
Adults should also be aware of that.
That's true too.
Okay, so business community rep, would you like to respond to the IT investment part, which is a critical, it's a good point. Anyone, it's open.
I'd probably take that, and my colleagues as well. I think, where do you draw the line in terms of investment? It's probably not, if I were to put ourselves in the shoes of how much do you invest in terms of IT, where do you draw the line? How much do you spend? How much is enough? What do you need to do? Is it cheaper to outsource it? Or, it's like days back or years back, people would invest in servers, but now you don't necessarily have to. You'd probably do a cloud-based server. How secure is that? Do you have control over it? How much control do you really need? So it's a lot more than just looking at the cost factor and saying that, shall we invest in it? A business would look at all other factors, and whether, I guess different businesses would probably look at it and say, is this really the optimum or the scenario for us? Or shall we have control over it and have it in-house? Mm-hmm. So it just differs.
That's a good point. Manjit.
Okay. Thank you, Sanjit, for this question. Okay, basically, cyber food is a cyber age. Is a father company. Is a cyber age is a software development company who does all point of sales, the ERP systems, web developments, mobile applications. We've been doing 2016 till 2018. We developed a lot of point of sales, ERP systems, payrolls, web development. And then we think, okay, do something innovative. Point of sale and ERP system is like a common business. So as an innovator, I find it a kind of boring business. So what I did, okay, so do something different, which is like no one is doing it. The Fiji really needs those kind of innovations. Then we invented cyber food. It's really good. We took a huge step on that. We invest a lot of money, even though when we started cyber food, I know the most part was educating people what is cyber food. The most of the people, in 1 year, we've been advertising like it's an online food delivery service. They've been, okay, are you the restaurants? It's a new type of restaurant. So how does it work? Can we order one palau? Or can we order one chop suey? No, we don't cook. We're the online food delivery service. So there's the awareness. That's the thing we've been telling people. Like, no, it's a new concept, new thing. So that took a lot of time. As a software development company and then educating people on food, it was a tough fast. It was very tough. So it's good, like investment itself and then taking steps in the initiative on the early stages. Then last month we did online grocery shoppings, which is online, and then we have a lot of more than 2,600 users been using and then requesting, okay, not actively using deliveries for the groceries. So we take initiative on food to groceries, which we are getting a lot of very good response on that. And then people are really happy. So that's from software to cyber food on delivery, and then the groceries. It's a big step for us, but it's good investment.
Thank you so much for promoting your business as well. Make sure you go online and use this app. But he's raised a really good point in terms of the processes, because it's not just about the technology, but you need to look at the people and the process. At the end of the day, you also need to understand that your people, your human resources, need to understand what is the product that you're selling and what are the risk factors that you need to think of. On that note, any other questions?
Hi, my name is Nitesh Chandra, and I'm the GM of Oceanic Communications. It's more of a comment than the question to the panel. I've been in the security web development field for the last 18 years. And one of the questions that always been asked of me is e-commerce. I think Fiji is right now sitting on a time bomb. So, as Majid has said, that the going into cyber transaction or e-commerce is a little difficult because banks are making it hard to get a payment gateway. But there's another side of the coin is, if the banks make a payment gateway available and very cheap, the other part is the developers and the developing community where you're going to host your websites. One of the common norms in Fiji is cheap is good. So you will have companies that are going to give you a $1 hosting, $1 per month hosting. And a lot of companies go for that because they don't really understand what is involved in this. Is the security available? Is it compliant? Is it PCI compliant? We call it for if you're going e-commerce. Now, to get a PCI compliant, you will be looking at easily $100 to $200 US a month to get that kind of server where your transaction is successful. And that's when I'm saying that we're sitting on a time bomb, because the developers, right now we're seeing new development companies are opening up, which is good for economy, that people are, but it's the lack of knowledge. Like we can say the bush lawyers are coming out, the developers who are, pardon my French here, it's the developers that are coming out are read online, they are not so experienced. So what will happen is they go to business communities and they oversell. And what they'll do, they'll put your website, your e-commerce website on a very cheap box. So even though from the front end it looks all flashy, it's nice, but it's not secured. Neither the owner nor the developer themselves have that in-depth knowledge of saying how can the man in the middle hacking can happen. Those kind of things. So we are sitting on a time bomb. So I think it's the education fraternity needs to be involved in this in a very heavily manner, so that we have not only the businesses who are wanting it, but we have trained personals coming out who do not just come and start developing and selling stuff. The other part that I wanted to say, I've been to the website.
Get Safe Online.
Yeah. I think it needs to tone down a little bit more. For example, basic things like what is the difference between having a 8-character password to a 15-character password? What is the importance of having alphanumeric plus some symbols? Those are the things, because I'm pretty sure in this room, we can probably raise our hands where we have just alpha or numeric passwords or less than 8-character password. These are the basic things that email hackers can do. Right now what happens is we have systems where the entire dictionary can be used to check against your password, the brute force attack we call it. A lot of people just take a simple password, date of birth or the name or something, and it's easily cracked. And what happens is when these are cracked, you won't even know it, but the person who's attacking it, they will use your email box to send out millions and millions of emails. You won't even know unless someone informs you or you have a lot of bounce back. So these are the basic things I don't think anyone is teaching us. We read about it, but it's just not going into our psyche. How do we get that into the psyche is the question that I'll ask the panel.
Those are really critical and great points. Anyone wants to respond to that?
Thanks for that. I think just on the two questions that came earlier, I think that could be I guess the next topics for the next, I guess, panel discussion, which could then also lead on to some form of workshops where we invite experts such as yourself to also come and also help not only educate some of the organizations, but also local government, and then in partnership with the police and also the Safety Commission. But thanks for your comment.
Anyway, my name is Fred. I represent DS Insight. Also represent the business community. So I work a lot in the Internet of Things space. We're currently developing an app for soil health. So that's in the agriculture sector. So we do a lot of sensors installing into the water recirculation systems. So the same concept, I'm bringing it into the agriculture sector. So my comment is there's a lot of siloed thinking between public-private partnerships. We look for data with government departments, but some of them don't know what they don't know. Because we're trying to compare historical data and existing data as well, so that we can see the trends. But this is a great platform for us to come and talk about moving forward. We also partner with Majid under the FCEF class as well, so there's a lot of exciting space around IoT, NAC.
Awesome, thank you for that. And also I think you're doing some work with traceable as well, technology. Yes, okay, great. That's blockchain, another forum, not here. Okay, so any more questions or comments? These are really good. I think it's about you, remember? So please. Maybe personal experience. Have you come across anything in terms of online threat?
Can I just make a comment?
Yeah, sure.
So one of the things, as we move along and we're talking about payments and things like that, I see a lot of people using their phones or, apps like WeChat or WhatsApp and things, and like using that as payment and all that sort of thing, and moving away from credit cards. And we're saying you don't have to carry your wallets. It's all on the phone sort of thing. But we haven't heard anything about that in this space sort of thing, or even in our country. We talk a lot about legitimizing the transactions in our country, yet we're still very inherently reliant on money transfers or remittances coming in, which I feel a lot of it we don't capture into our economic system as well. Yeah. So how do we make use of the technology that is out there nowadays? And then, because then you're capturing data, it's all about using that information, and ensuring that the people are paying the right taxes and etc. So, and we haven't really even touched any of that.
Before I go to the cyber team, I just wanted to ask if is anyone here from the banking industry or financial institute that would like to just respond? I know Jim is, but let's wait for him. Anyone from the team? Audience? No one. Okay, Jim. Over to you. Now you put on your wristband.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not able to respond from a banking financial institute, but I hear what you're saying. But from my company, I think, and as it alluded earlier on, there is some work I know being done, and maybe Digicel might also be able to share if they have information on hand around the payments gateway, but in terms of mobile payments, we already have, the technology that's out there, Samsung and Google Pay. It's just that most of these technologies, at the end of the day, will still have to link to a bank. And so I think the challenge right now is really putting in those policies or frameworks to allow that to happen from the governing, from the central bank. And I think that's something that they're working on at the moment. When that happens, I do not know. I cannot say. But until that time, unless someone comes up and wants to start their own digital or open bank, it's anyone's guess.
So Jim, we know as much as you do in terms of also being part of that same group that met at the RBF to discuss the mobile payment gateway. We are wanting to be part of it, of course, because it allows Digicel to connect seamlessly with the banks around Fiji. We believe it should be coming in the next year or two, and we're very hopeful. I believe that would be a key step to what everybody is alluding to in terms of this excellent opportunity. And that's the diplomatic way of putting it. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Is that okay? Does that answer? Yeah. Coming back to that point, in terms of the laws and legislations and also the acts, there's also the data protection law that we don't have, right? Am I correct? So this is something that we also need to look at. But any comments, even from the audience, regarding legislation, cybercrime bill or the laws in terms of protecting online businesses and also e-commerce, etc., from online threats and stuff. Any comments? Yes. Thank you, Mr. Lawyer.
Well, we all made submissions recently on the cybercrime legislation, which was excellent. Just on the privacy legislation, I think there's legislation called the Information Act of 2018. I haven't really read it. I'm sorry. I will read it. But I was just wondering if there's some overlap between that and what the plan is for the privacy legislation.
Ken.
I won't speak specifically, but just in terms of context, the Information Act is quite broad in its context. And so I did just want to make a comment in terms of data protection and legislation. We're in such a crucial time where we have these great innovative ideas, but we lack and we could do better in the sense of legislating or the policies that we have to work with, because we have the people who are interested obviously in what this space offers in terms of cyberspace, and so it's just being able to secure it, I guess, for the context of Fiji, right? Because we have legislation that's around other countries in the region and around the world. And so being able to have policies and legislation, like we had mentioned in the beginning, you have cybersecurity as the overarching concept or idea or notion, and then you have online safety. With the Online Safety Act, it's quite specific in terms of its remit. And so for us, our focus at the Commission is the individual. But there is, as of today, there's not yet a overarching legislation, and that's what we would hope to work towards and that's what this sort of discussion will also bring about, is the notion of policies and legislative reforms that would be able to keep up with the time, so to speak, because we're in such a digital transforming space. And so with everything online that changes every minute, there's so much that could take place in 60 seconds, and we say it all the time in every presentation that we do. Legislation and policies need to also align with that, because businesses are getting in tune with different digital layouts and digital aspects and digital responsibility or cyber responsibility. But it's just the frameworks that's specific to Fiji and specific to our context that would be really helpful.
Great, that's a good point. And I think it's important that you involve the business communities when you are developing legislation or even doing consultations. Like Peter mentioned that they have done a submission, but it's good for you to provide your comments and also to be part of the consultations, because this is about you. It's not so much about what's going to happen behind the scene, but you need to be the one telling us what can work and what cannot work, like I said before. So, Savi, did you want to comment on that, or you okay? Okay, good. Any further questions? Otherwise, we will sort of wrap it up. Do you have any questions for the audience? I think it'll be good if you can ask some.
Just for the audience, really, just to put together something in terms of either an email or feedback on what are some of the areas that concern your business. On any question that relate to either cybersecurity, whether it be from a startup perspective or from a legislative perspective or from a reporting of a crime, cybercrime, anything that relates that you feel that hasn't been either discussed here today or that you'd like to see in the next panel, and if you'd also like to volunteer and be part of the advocacy of Get Safe Online.
Okay, I'm going to wrap it up, but before I wrap it up, I just want to make 3-4 key points based on what they've raised. I don't like to do a summary, so it's going to be very much bullet points. Raising awareness is key, critical. Being smart online when you're dealing with your clients, even your family and your friends, or dealing with the public. Be smart and use common sense. Having e-gateway propositions, working with obviously the telcos and also the banking institutions, and finding a way to, like Peter said, in terms of moving forward. And obviously, I think it's going to come in within 2 or 3 years. And then understanding your business processes, understanding your financials, your economic status in terms of your investments, your cost factor as well. So looking at your people, your processes, and not just the technology is a very key point. We'd already talked about the laws and legislations. Everything needs to be supported by these laws and legislations. And I think this is another critical point. And also holding people responsible. You know, when they're developing a new app, I think it's important that they need to go through some sort of training, and I think this is where GetSafe comes in, and they can provide this sort of support. But I think also training means we also look at the marginalized groups. We have women and also kids, which is obviously one of the key audience, but looking at the rural and remote communities, but also persons with disability, we need to focus on them because they are using a lot of this assistive technology. So when you are doing anything online, think of them, please. And also, in terms of what you mentioned, you already have a business council, you already have a network, SMEs network. I think this is where we need to work together, come together, and this doesn't stop here. We need to continue this discussion. But again, I think looking forward, like someone said to me yesterday that, you know, there are no problems in this world, there are challenges. So we need to understand how we can work together to overcome these challenges. Thank you so much for joining this event. I hope you all found it useful. And I think it's important that we continue these discussions. But it's not just discussions. I think we need to translate this into policies and strategies. And looking at the way forward, I think we need to look at some key recommendations, but it's about working together, bringing the business community and also the cyber team, but also others who are experts in this room. So on that note, again, Fiji was the first to launch this Global24 event. We're very excited, and we are finally wrapping up. So thank you so much, and all the best to the rest of the countries who are going to launch the Global24 event.